Why didn't I conduct recounts in Karungu, East and West? 6 ballot papers, ballot boxes, is too huge a number in a constituency. Is too much. You know, like we human beings grow, even the law must grow. I am aware that I am not a court of record, but there is no harm in jurisprudence growing beginning with me. I know I'm not a judge to make a decision binding on courts. God willing, I will become a judge if he feels that I will be a judge for his people, because leadership comes from God. Now you have gone to Karungu East and Karungu West, and you have found 5 to 7 ballot boxes tampered with. You have come to Masaka City, which has 314 polling station and therefore ballot boxes, and you find that all ballot boxes, save for one, intact. Would it have been justice in the eyes of the people of Masaka to hide behind the precedents we have been using 10, 15, 20 years ago, that as long as you find a ballot box, my discretion, which I take responsibility of, my inner heart that feels for justice, that knows that litigation should be quick and people relax. I've been hearing people moving around the town. They are not yet settled. Elections ended, but they are not yet settled. If we can settle the matter at the level of a recount, these members of parliament who contested can go back to their businesses or their works and do work. So I ordered a recount on ground that surely one box out of 314 that can be, it can easily break, even when it is not tampered with. And I was very vigilant. I was there myself. So whoever says I acted outside the law, please, yes, he is entitled to your opinion, but that's what I interpreted as justice to me, to the members of parliament, for the people of Masaka City.
We become the torch. Institutional and individual dependence do not insulate us from accountability. The people of Uganda are the ultimate beneficiaries of our labor, and their confidence in our work can only be earned daily through fairness, efficiency, and ethical conduct. Only then shall we win the public trust that we badly need to execute our roles proficiently. Therefore, we must all guard against vices that bring the judiciary into disrepute, like corruption, absenteeism, poor customer care, poor time management, and undue adjournments and late judgments, among others. You know, it's so sad that people move and come to your court. They have traveled long distances, and then when they arrive at your station, you are not there. Or you arrive at any time you want. When I was an advocate who went to Masaka, there was a retired justice who we arrived at 9. We waited for him at 11:30. He came in. There were some 2 ladies waiting for him outside. He entered in his chambers, started talking to them. At midday, he called us in and said, I'm diabetic. I have to go and take something. So we said, okay, no problem. We went to Masaka, also looked for something to eat. We came back. He returned at 3 and only had one case and adjourned the rest of us. We were so annoyed that if we had the powers, we could have gotten him out of his chambers and subjected him to disciplinary action. So, but you can imagine the anger we generated. So you need to know that especially poor time management and delayed hearings and all that can really rattle the society the wrong way. Let us all ensure that we have excellent court services based on the 3 pillars of hearing, death, certainty, efficiency, and the culture of service. In conclusion, my lords, the administration of justice is a service to humanity. Judges are healers of social conflict, custodians of rights, and anchors of constitutional democracy. To serve efficiently, we must remain intact physically, emotionally, and psychologically. We should ensure that we are of sound health at all times. Over the next 3 days, I urge you to engage deeply in discussions, reflect honestly on your own wellness, and recommit yourselves to ethical excellence, compassion, and diligence. Let us embrace judiciary that is efficient yet humane. For example, for inspection, there is no reason why an inspector should travel from here to Moyo. We are going to employ IT tools, PC, mobile, all those, to ensure that if you are absent at your station as Chief Justice, I will know on that day. Because we will be having biometric logins at your place of work, but also with the available tools that are existing now, if you don't log in the system at your place of work, I will know. So we must be able to use technology, and I can assure you within 2 years, all these will be in place. We shall have a situation room whereby the Chief Justice, the Deputy Chief Justice, and the Principal Judge can monitor anything where a judgment has been delivered. It should be on the screen. Instead of watching CNN, I should be watching performance. And that's where we are heading, administration or peers. 2, foster support systems. We must cultivate a supportive, collaborative, and inclusive culture where colleagues can rely on one another, including mentoring and the judicial bodies. The judiciary has already taken strides in the creation of peer groups for judicial officers, and it is my wish that we utilize them. Now, I'm sure you all received these peer groups. You know where you belong. If you have a challenge, share with your peers. It is very dangerous to suffer alone. Sometimes a problem shared is a problem solved. If you keep it to yourself, you may end up with a more serious problem. So those peer committees, kindly, my lords, your worships, utilize them. They are not for decoration. Invest in wellness. As Chief Justice, I will ensure that we implement institutionalized support, including training on stress management, work-life balance, and where necessary, access professional and confidential help. I think in the morning, I don't remember whether it was Demokor who said that he directed someone to Butabika, and the person said, if they see me coming from that mental hospital, they will think I'm also, the wires are off. So I think there was also this idea we had suggested when I was principal judge, that we could bring like psychologists within the building. Then the people started raising an issue that, you see, when the people see you going there, if the office, let's say, is on the ground floor, and then they see the Chief Justice going there, then they will start saying, it appears there are issues. So I think it's a wider discussion we need to have and find a solution. But we must have these facilities. Here at this conference venue, a medical camp composed of a team of medical workers from Mulago National Referral Hospital, led by an associate consultant that has been organized for your benefit. Kindly make use of the medical camp. We have already established gym facilities accessible to all judges at the Court of Appeal and Supreme Court buildings.
Abalungi abatuuliriza era abatulaba olunaku olwaleero tuchaddeko ewa Sheikh Asiraf Dembe.
Sebo nsanyusa okubalaba. Amannya agange nze Sheikh Asiraf Dembe. Akola ku bizibu by'enjawulo. Omuntu singa aba alina ebirwadde musomereddwa, tumuwa amazzi ga lukuya nga bw'obadde ogalaba. Tugenda abantu ku kyoto ne twokya emizimu emibi egibabaamu. N'okulombeddwa abantu singa abeera ng'ali wano atu atuuse sobola okumulombera edduwa ne waba atatuuse nga mpadde amannya ge naye ng'ali wala neetaaze ennamba yange yeeno eri 0701763711 nammwe bannyinaffe abali ebweru oyagala okuba nti oyagala okulombera ku dduwa ng'olina ebizibu viza zibuze amaka gakolongotana sente zikola zimpita mu ngalo ojja kumpeereza ekifaananyi kyo n'amannya go ebyo byokka bijja kummala nja kukulombera edduwa ojja kutereera olunaku olusembayo mu mwezi mba n'edduwa eyawamu ffenna n'abalwadde bange abakadde n'abapya. Salaamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Now, of course, there is no room for corruption in judiciary. The moment we discover you have no space within the judiciary. We have the same thinking with the Judicial Service Commission that disciplines judges and magistrates, that the moment you are caught in any corruption scandal, you don't have any space in judiciary. You must go home. So in other words, we are going to implement a zero tolerance to corruption approach. However, of course, as you know, corruption sometimes can be actual or it can be perceived. Sometimes what we think are corrupt practices are actually perceived corruption. But if we have the actual one where we get you into it, then definitely your space in judiciary is not there. You can't survive in judiciary. Under the law, election petitions take precedence over other matters. In fact, when they file them, we are supposed to suspend everything else and deal with them. So ideally, what we are saying is that election petitions must be given priority so that the judges can complete them in time, and so that people can know whether that is a person who is validly elected or whether someone else should be actually occupying that position which was declared. And that is the essence of handling them quickly, so that the people's representatives should be those chosen by the people themselves. It has a sieving mechanism. If there is a mistake, for example, done at the lower level, it can be addressed at a higher level. Otherwise, you know, the independence of the judiciary presupposes that when a judicial officer is handling something, we cannot interfere even if we are bosses. So that's why there is that sieving mechanism of the hierarchy. So if something is done wrong at the lower level, it is addressed at the higher level. Yeah.
I read on the issue of uniform sentencing.
Yes.
Featuring most in the conference also.
Yeah.
Say something about it.
Yeah, you see, usually when one of the things we promote in the court system is what we call predictability. When someone comes to the court system, he should know what is the likely outcome. So now when it comes to sentencing, we don't want someone to commit murder and then one judge is sentencing him to 3 years, another one is giving him a life sentence. So we must have some form of uniformity. It might not be the same, but at least we must have some kind of range, especially for the same offenses, so that one judge does not acquit, for example, and then another one convicts, where the same offense actually has occurred of similar nature. So that's why we want to come up with a policy on uniformity of sentencing. Kind of like, not all offenses are the same, but at least the offenses within the same aspect should have kind of an acceptable range. Because you see, ADR is a voluntary mechanism. For example, we can't force you to go for mediation. We can take you there, but if mediation doesn't succeed, you must come to this lengthy process which we use today. So it will be a multi-pronged approach. We use both systems. It doesn't mean that we are going to promote ADR only, and then those who don't want to go for it, we leave them in the corridor. No, this system we use will continue, but we would encourage more of ADR, because as you know, only 10% of the disputes do come to the court system, because this is the Hill report which actually carried out that study. So meaning that 90% of the disputes are actually settled down there in the villages, in the rural areas, in our communities, in our cultural institutions, in our religious institutions. Some of them we never get to know. You will find, for example, in Islam, they have the Qadi courts which they implement within the mosques, but you will never know because they don't publish these things. But for us in the justice sector, we know that they do happen. So we shall use the multi-pronged approach. This current system, we can't do away with it. It's very difficult to do away with the system just like that, but we shall promote more alternative justice systems. Our judges retire with 80% of their emoluments. So, actually, if you look at our retired justices, you have seen some of them inside there. They look better than us who are in service. So I don't think that that's a proper analysis. So government has really tried to to care for the justices as retired, because in the past, you know, a judge lives an isolated life when he is working. And now you have been in service for 20 years, isolated. Now when you get out, why they would grow old very fast is that you cannot join the business world. You cannot, because you've been away from the public. Yeah, so when the government realized that, they said, okay, let's have a judge retiring with 80% of the emoluments. So in that way, then a judge will have a comfortable life after retirement, because the other problems of isolation cannot follow the judge into retirement. So now they are really fine. If you've seen them, many of them look younger than us who are serving. We now have counseling services for judges and magistrates. You see, what happens is that the job of a judge has a lot of trauma associated with it, especially when it comes to cases like murder. You know, when you are trying a murder case, you are going to have the police tendering in photos of, you know, a chopped head, intestines out. You know, those photos, sometimes they can cause trauma. So we now have counseling services, which is a new approach. So that those who feel like they need to talk to someone to be, you know, assisted mentally, psychologically, they can go and get those services. And that is a form of awareness we are trying to encourage. Of course, we can't send them to Butabika, because Butabika itself is traumatic. When they see you entering Butabika and coming out, they will think that you have lost your wires. So the counseling services we have are outside the mental hospital. I think we can stop at that.
Tewali mulamuzi agenda mu bantu n'abawaliriza okujja okuwaaba. Wabula wabaawo obutakkaanya, abantu bennyini be bagenda mu kkooti ne bawaaba. Kino kitegeeza nti we tuteekawo embeera ng'abantu bennyini abalina ensonga zaabwe basobola okutuula nga makati waliwo omuntu abayambako okukaanya. Ekyo kijja kuyamba n'ebyenfuna bya Uganda, kuba okusasula balooya kyetaaga ssente nnyingi. Ekyokubiri, oluusi kkooti esobola okuyisa ekiragiro ng'egamba nti wabaawo enkaayana ku ttaka lino tebajja likozesa. N'olwekyo ogenda okusanga nga yiika ne yiika ez'ettaka tebazikozesa lwakuba waliwo enkaayana. Oluusi kkooti esobola okugamba nti ssente zino muziteeke ku akawunti ya kkooti. Kitegeeza nti ssente ezo tezijja kuyamba byanfuna bya Uganda. N'olwekyo okukola ennyo n'okufuba okulaba ng'abantu basobola okukaanya ebweru wa kkooti kijja kuyamba ebyenfuna bya Uganda, n'abannansi bennyini bajja kuddaabiriza embeera gye babeeramu n'okukendeeza enkaayana. Kintu kino kye bayita wellness. Olina kubanga oli mulamu ng'omuntu, osobola okubeera omulamuzi ng'olina ebyambalo byo, abantu bakussaamu ekitiibwa, naye nga mu bulamu bwo oyinza okuba nga olina ebikukosa. N'olwekyo okubeera omulamu olina okubeera n'emikwano gy'osobola okwogera nagyo, ng'obabuulira ebikuluma, ng'obategeeza obulamu bwo engeri gye bugendamu. Bano abalamuzi abantu babalabanga abantu abali waggulu nnyo, abatalina bizibu, naye nabo bantu. N'olwekyo buli mulamuzi alina kusooka kukkiriza nti naye muntu, alina ebimukosa, alina ebimuluma, ate yeetaaga kubeera n'emikwano gisobola okumuyambako okubanga omutwe gwe guterera. Because if you are a DP candidate and you speak like Nup, then they say, why should we get the copy? Let's get the original. So none of us spoke like NRM. We knew we were in partnership with NRM, but we never spoke like NRM. We spoke like DP. But they were here in the central region of Buganda. The DP candidates were competing with NUP on how much they hate Museveni and the NRM. So they said, we know the Kavule people can do it better than you, if that's what it is about. So they voted rightly for the Kavule people. If I'm a priest and I'm trying to compete with a witch doctor, then people say, yeah, then I think the witch doctor is the real deal. They will vote for the witch doctor in Okusamira. Because when you are holding Holy Communion and a wine glass and holding a Bible, and yet you are claiming to be a witch doctor. And they said, we must now have this one, even as a shrine, and all those gadgets of witch doctors. So let us pick up the lessons and move on. What matters? Everybody must pick their own lessons. It is unfortunate that we could not keep our promise, because our promise was based on a promise made to us by the Uganda government, a promise of funding. At one point, I even had to make an executive decision to go into borrowing. So that is my reflection on our experience. In Kampala, for the first time, we had a candidate for the position of Lord Mayor who gave the party a lot of visibility. Again, because of the narrow-minded politics that I talked about, many of the councillors did not want to move with our DP candidate for Lord Mayor, just because she has the last name Mao. So they would say, but she went into the entire city telling them that I'm not here to explain the cooperation agreement. I'm just here to tell you that you are not doing well under Lukwago. And that has nothing to do with Mao signing an agreement with President Museveni. So wake up and stop being stupid first and foremost. Be intelligent. Your roads are not well done. You don't have schools. Your markets have been given away to politicians. The market women have to sell on the pavements. Rent is too high. You, the traders, they are charging you in dollars. Those are the issues. But now you want to debate political cooperation between two political parties. First, you are not qualified to debate that topic. Secondly, it is irrelevant. It is now, if you go to my village and people are analyzing Russia and Ukraine, of what benefit is analyzing Russia and Ukraine war when all you need is fertilizer and good seeds and affordable tractors to come and plow your garden so you can pay fees to your children who hopefully will go to the UN and debate Ukraine and Russia. But you at your level, of what benefit is Russia and Ukraine? So you find a villager wasting all his time in the morning debating who is going to win between Russia and Ukraine. So our candidate for Lord Mayor was able to do what is called committing class suicide. Despite living in London for over 30 years, she was like any common person in this city. She went to the markets and she hasn't stopped. In fact, she's already doing what I've called everybody to do. Even today, she's going to the villages, distributing the balance of t-shirts she had printed, The other day she was busy distributing sugar and soap to the elderly, which none of the so-called winners have even done. I saw the winner of the Lord Mayor race that now is meeting people from New York. on nice sofas. I mean, let us live like the real Uganda. Do you people know what the real Uganda is like? I think we are deceiving ourselves. She has ordered gloves. I think tomorrow a cargo plane is bringing thousands of gloves for the women who sweep the streets. Because these women are touching things which are giving them infections. That's what she discovered, and she's responding. She said, I can afford this. Let me bring the gloves. I may not be the Lord Mayor, but if I can give 15,000 gloves for the women who sweep the streets, that's okay. They don't even have to vote for me, but at least I will have done something good for my city. That's why her slogan was, your city, your say. But at least the pressure the DP candidate put led to the eviction of area super, which is a good thing. In fact, Kampala, on the day that he lost, Kampala improved tremendously. Because Kampala needs leadership, not someone who is a specialist in mourning. So now, the DP brand is back in the city. The other candidates of DP didn't have any manifesto. Our only disappointment is the mystery of where the NRM candidate got the votes. Do you people even know the NRM candidate? I've not seen him in any media house. I don't even know what his issues are, but somehow some votes were genetically manufactured for him, and he ends up as the #2 candidate. He never held any events. So definitely his votes must have come from some mysterious source. So DP has a duty to come back to Kampala and fight for this city. When DP was in charge of Kampala, the ordinary people thrived in this city. Rent was not being charged in dollars. But now you ended up with a Lord Mayor who pays allegiance to the rich, those who want prime plots of land. So DP must go back to its politics of talking about real problems of real people. And that is how we shall win. And I believe that's how some of us were able to win, because we went down to the grassroots with a lot of humility and started addressing the real issues. I wish to console those who put up a big fight but still lost. The candidate for Aswa in Gulu district, this was his 4th attempt. He started standing in 2011, he lost. 2016, he lost. 2021, he lost. This time, he was able to make it. So, and I've never heard him complaining. So take responsibility if you want to win next time. He was able to win on his 4th attempt. My daughter Sarah here, this was her 2nd attempt. And I'll use you as an example. Prepare to fight again. In Namilyango, one of our major sports was boxing. And boxing is a merciless sport. Because when you enter the ring, the person who is there in the ring with you, his job is to give you pain. and he can inflict it on your jaws, on your forehead, or your stomach. He can box your ear and you fall down. And you see the roof of the boxing ring turning like this. That is when you hear the words of the coach saying, fight one more round. The big matches are 15 rounds. Others may be 3. My first attempt in that boxing ring in Namilyango, which we used to call the pyramid, the first round was hell for me. First they got a person who was much bigger than me, and he really gave me bad company. What saved me was that one of my gloves was torn, so it had a sharp edge. And when I sent a blow, it scratched him, so he started bleeding. So the match was stopped on a technicality, and I was declared the winner on a technical knockout. I don't think I was going to win that one, but not everybody is as lucky as Mao. I have my 9 lives. Others don't have the 9 lives of Mao. So the election was a big test for our partnership with the NRM, and it showed that it seems only President Museveni values the partnership. The majority of his leaders don't seem to value the partnership. As you know, I also faced stiff competition from an incumbent member of parliament who was heavily funded. I also faced opposition in the constituency by an NRM candidate. And then there was another candidate, our former vice chairman of the party, who decided to join UPC. This morning when I came here, I told my colleagues that how would they have felt if the party president had been defeated in a parliamentary election. Then they told me that you should not forget that many party presidents lost parliamentary elections. The party president of the Democratic Front lost parliamentary election. The party president of JEMA lost parliamentary election. The party president of FDC lost parliamentary elections. So yeah, the party president of NUP lost at a very high level.
PFF.
The party president of PFF also lost the position of Lord Mayor of Kampala. So my colleagues were consoling me that I would not be alone in the losers' lounge, that I would have very good company. But Gulu is where I come from. Gulu is what made me. I went into the campaign to go back to my roots. So despite those challenges, we were able to defy the false prophets who had said that DP was going to be relegated and would not even qualify to join IPOD, and that we would not even get a single member of parliament. Unfortunately, those false prophets claimed to be DP. They assured us that we were not going to have a single seat in Parliament. I can share with you my own experience of the campaign. I left Parliament 20 years ago, and I'm returning 20 years later. The people who were born when I was last in Parliament are now the voters. And when they hear the name Norbert Mao, they wonder what he really means. They don't relate to him at all. People tell them about the peace talks in Juba, and they say, well, what about them? We are not in school. That's what we care about. We don't care whether you walked 16 miles to the forests of Garamba in Congo. We don't care how hard you fought for the amnesty law. We don't care about your fights for multi-party democracy. We don't even care about your fights against corruption as a young MP. So I had to be very humble and accept that the ground had shifted. In short, I collided with what you would call a new curriculum. The political curriculum has changed completely. And the Democratic Party and all political parties and all candidates have got to campaign differently. We cannot campaign the way our founders campaigned in the 60s. We now have voters who relate more to TikTok celebrities than men and women of solid ideas. We now have an electorate that can change their vote for 2,000 shillings on election day. We now have an electorate that can change their vote for a piece of soap and half a kilo of sugar. I'm glad I went into the contest because I realized that I was out of touch with the real people, the real Ugandans. So to my colleagues, whether you won or lost, I think it is important to reflect on the real things you found there. I've been seeing the discussions on our party platforms. Others are fuming at the secretariat. Others are fuming at the party president. Others are blasting the party. That's not how you will win in 2031. That's if you still want to be a member of parliament or to be elected. You can blame anybody. Everybody was fighting. Even your president was fighting for his political life. And I can assure you, I had more opposition than all of you combined. The benefit of the others. And I want to be very, very truthful. Because in DP, people lie about us, but for us, we don't tell lies. There has been rumors flying around that I have ambitions to be speaker. Now, between president and speaker, which position is more powerful? Now, you all know that I have ambitions to be president of Uganda. And I've even stood for it. And I even keep repeating that I have not abandoned my presidential ambition. And I want to state here that my main goal is to lead Uganda because I think I have the unique combination of qualities that can unify this country. Because I myself am Uganda made simple. I studied in the East, grew up here in Central. My mother is from the West, my father is from the North. I'm probably the only prospective president who speaks fluently Bantu languages and Nilotic languages, bridging the North-South divide. Why would Ugandans want to miss that opportunity? Somebody who can go to Sinjiro and say, I'm going home. Somebody who can go to Gulu and say, I'm going home. Now, even before my father died, he had found for us another mother from Teso. Because when our mom died, my father found for us another mother from Serere. So now I go to Serere and I'm at home. I go to Busoga and I'm at home. Here in Buganda, they are my in-laws. The other day you heard the Katikiro saying, now I'm his father. Because he said that my wife is his mother. So if now I'm the husband of your mother, then I'm your father. Anyway, jokes aside, he said that because his mother is from the Ngabi clan, where my wife comes from. So, I'm a pragmatic nationalist. I have nobody's blood on my hands. For all the things I'm accused of, you know, when I read the attacks on Twitter and other social media, and I ask myself, do these Ugandans even know what they want? DP wants to offer a bridge to the future for Ugandans. And it's up to Ugandans to either accept it or start again these snakes and ladders. So, now you know my main ambition. The idea of the speakership race has been in the media. Somebody picked a photo that was based on a screenshot of an NTV news item that Mao has won the Laro Peche. And then also another one from NBS. And then they said Mao has declared his intention to contest for the position of speaker. Then they said this will be the hottest race. I can assure you, I'm not the source of that kind of thing. I've never been afraid to announce any position I'm interested in. But there's a lot of goodwill whenever my name is mentioned in relation to that position of speaker. I feel it when I move on the streets, and the Democratic Party cannot ignore that goodwill, and neither can I ignore that goodwill. Because when people meet you and they say, Osanide, and these are people who have previously been actually attacking me. I'm meeting people from groups that have been very hostile to me, and they are all of a sudden saying, we need to talk, we need to talk. I think there are a number of reasons. You do remember that despite Ugandans being stubborn, but they also can recognize certain qualities when they choose it. When the late Olanya died, I remember Andrew Mwenda said, somebody should resign their parliamentary seat so that Mao can go to parliament in a by-election. Now, there is a hunger in the country for a more accountable parliament. Now, whether I can fulfill that hunger is another matter. But that nyonta is there. There is that thirst. I think citizens want a people's house. People remember the unfinished term of the late Jacob Oulanyah, who by accident happened to have been my very close friend, of course. So somehow I'm the nearest to him. I'm the one who reminds them the most of him. I'm not him, of course. I'm not, and I'll never be. But sometimes you may have a person who reminds you of someone. And that has put me in direct conflict with people who believe in ring fencing positions. But I'm not the one to blame for citizens saying Mao should be speaker. I've not even said anything about that position. But there's this outpouring of goodwill by people who want Parliament to have institutional power as opposed to personal power. So what am I doing about this goodwill? I think that's what you need to know. Number one, I qualify. Actually, that open to any MP. So I have the minimum qualification. Now, apart from the minimum qualification, people look at the education of a speaker. They look at the experience of somebody who should be a speaker. They look at the skills, the special skills that a speaker should have. Then, of course, you look at the connections, local and international. Those are all attributes. Now, a speaker must belong to the parliament, not to anybody else. Because that's why they say the Speaker of Parliament. So the Speaker heads an organ. The day that Jacob Oulanyah died, we were in Seattle with the current Speaker. I went to her hotel room because we were staying in the same hotel. So I told her, you are the Deputy Speaker. According to the rules of Parliament, if the position of Speaker is vacant, there can be no other business apart from election of Speaker. So I told her, by God's grace, you are going to ascend to that position. Go there with all humility, knowing that in normal times, but for the death of the Speaker, you would be Speaker in 2031. Now the clock has been brought forward. But go for it, because you are the deputy. As we went into the campaigns, the rumors started flying. First, people said, why do you think Mao is going back to Parliament? They don't assume that I can also be an MP. They want to know why I am going back to Parliament. Then they say, but you know NRM and DP are in partnership. So NRM can support a DP candidate for Speaker, the way they supported our candidate for Iyala. Then those who wanted to cause more turmoil started spreading rumors that I have actually decided to contest for position of Speaker. I want you to know that we even had a conversation about that with the Speaker, and I told her that if ever the time has come for me to make that announcement, I'll do it myself. The moment I was declared as a Member of Parliament elect, I started getting calls from many of the elected members of Parliament urging me to contest for the position of Speaker. So what does an intelligent person do? Because the NRM has the majority of members of Parliament, and it is only natural that the majority party should provide the Speaker. So right now, I'm carrying out consultations about that prospect. And we will also meet the leadership of the NRM, including the President, and talk openly about it. After all, everything we are doing is for Uganda. You are a speaker of Uganda, you are not a speaker for yourself. Fortunately, where I come from, we also gave the President serious votes. More than 80% on average. So this time we have a claim on the political cake. There is the national cake, which means roads, bridges, electricity, schools, health facilities. That is they call it the national cake. Whether you have voted for the winner or not, you are entitled to it. But the political cake is based on how many votes you brought. And this time, in where I come from, the vote jumped from 44% to over 80%. And I was instrumental in shaping that narrative. I have always been the one scattering the President's votes in that area. This time I was the one gathering it. So I'm sure he will also take that into consideration as we carry out our consultations. And so the decision of who will be Speaker is highly political, and there are many interested parties. So a day is a very long time in politics. We are still in today is 3rd of February. The elections are in May. So nobody should take anything for granted. Even me, I cannot take anything for granted. The Baganda say, "Chotanalia toche sunga." So I cannot claim this or that, but I can only claim that we must put the national interest first. But also we must not tear apart the country because of a position. I can repeat what I've said in Uganda.
Uganda Eyenkya.